do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into what is going to be a loaded and very Indiana Pacers heavy Real Jonathan Smith Show today. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith, or maybe you're listening via that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And as always, if you want more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page as well. Now, your Indiana Pacers are moving on, baby. Pacers beat the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1 after what could only be described as an absolute thriller last night. Pacers win 119-118 in overtime. Tyrese Haliburton with the game winner. Oh, man, just what a game, what an atmosphere. And I would love to discuss the atmosphere. That's really like when the game ended, I was like, I've got great stories. It's going to be awesome. And then everything after the game happened. So let's start with the first altercation that is making the rounds. I always turn on FS1 while I'm doing my show prep just to be able to listen to something. And they talked about John Haliburton more than they talked about Tyrese Haliburton. That's problematic. Giannis Antetokounmpo and John Haliburton got into it after the game. There are several videos making the rounds. I was there. I saw the whole thing. I saw John Haliburton sprint out onto the court after his son hit the game winner. And my eyes stayed on that dude because John Haliburton, from every story that I've heard, seems like a very nice guy. But you know, like he is the father of Tyrese Haliburton, and Tyrese Haliburton is not beyond running his mouth when he's on the court. So Tyrese Haliburton beats Giannis off the dribble, makes the layup. 1.3 seconds left. Bucks inbound the ball to Gary Trent Jr. He missed the full court heave by a mile. The crowd erupts. Everyone's going crazy. But I think I know these teams pretty well. So my eyes are locked on the court. You know that some sort of altercation is coming. And that's when I see John Haliburton just like sprint onto the court. He's celebrating. He's got this towel with his son's face on it. And they are talking quite a bit, you know, and he's just out there excited, waving his Tyrese Haliburton towel. And in that moment, I was like, John Haliburton is rightfully so super excited that his kid just hit a game winner to send the Milwaukee Bucks home. And he's like, he didn't run out there with the intent of confronting Giannis. He ran out there just because he was excited. And he turned around and it looked like he was about to head back to his seat. But then he sees Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he starts waving the towel at him. And he starts talking to him. Here is Giannis on his version of what happened during the altercation. This whole response is like 3.5 minutes. I cut it down to the bare bones, so there's a little extra meat on the bone for this. If you, I'm sure you can find the full 3.5 minute thing somewhere. I just wanted to say that beforehand because these are not Giannis's exact words in this order. He tells some other stories in there. Just want to be fully honest with you. So here's Giannis's story on what happened with John Haliburton.
Nothing. And this is the last time I'm going to say. I won't talk a lot. We lost the game. It doesn't really matter. One thing I'll say is that I believe like being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you got tag, and you know it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't. Okay, and that doesn't say anything. I'm not trying to minimize their effort. Losing the game, emotions run high. Having a fan, which at the moment I thought he was a fan, but then I realized he was Tyrese's son, which I love. Tyrese, I think he's a great competitor. He was his dad, sorry. Coming in the floor and showing me his son a towel with his face. This is what we do. This is what we effing do. This the F we do. This. I feel like that's very, very disrespectful. you know, I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his son, and I'm happy that he's happy for his son. That's how you're supposed to feel. But coming to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Okay, and I'm not the guy that points fingers, because in my neighborhood, snitches get stitches. So I don't want to say something, for him to say to get fined or anything. But it's not respectful. I talked with him at the end, and I think we're in a good place.
Giannis Antetokounmpo right there talking about his conversation with John Haliburton, Tyrese Haliburton's father, after the buzzer sounded last night. Thank the Lord for security, because if it wasn't there, Giannis might have just squashed that dude. So John Haliburton is out there on the floor, waving the towel, yelling, "This is what the F we do," all that good stuff. Security finally comes over, and they grab John Haliburton, and they take him back to his seat. As far as I'm concerned, they should have walked him out of the building or into the back. And that's like they should not have put him back in his seat. They should have taken him off the floor entirely, taken back into the locker room or wherever he goes to see Tyrese after games. That is what they should have done. That's what they should have done. It's not, but that's what should have happened. And this is something that all of the videos are missing, because the videos I've seen go viral are the ones of John Haliburton waving the towel at Giannis, and Giannis and John Haliburton being forehead to forehead. Giannis walked away, and he cooled off for a second. You could tell. I'm watching him, trying to see what he's going to do, because, security is great. But Giannis is, he's chiseled. Like he looks like a Greek sculpture of Zeus. That's what he looks like. If he wants to go talk to somebody, security not going to help. It's just not. So he cools off for a second, and he eventually begins to walk back over. Okay? And so Giannis walks over there. Staff security is like just trying to stand between him and John Haliburton, because obviously, you don't want Giannis or John hitting the other one, because then things go really bad really fast. And they have that second conversation. And as Giannis said, seems like they're in a good place now. As he's walking away, he gives John a little thumbs up. I'm assuming that John Haliburton apologized, because I don't think you get a thumbs up from Giannis after that first altercation if the second one doesn't at least go okay. All right, but John Haliburton is an issue. I understand that he is the face of your franchise's dad, so he's going to get some special treatment. To be fair to John Haliburton, every story I have heard about him has been great. He seems like he has a ton of great energy. I've talked to him once as he was passing by at a Pacers game. Dude seems really nice. Is clearly very happy for his son, is very supportive of his son, and that is a good thing. You can't allow that good energy to result in that, though. Because, yes, you are Tyrese Haliburton's dad, but ultimately, you are a fan, and you can't be on the court. As soon as he crossed that line, security should have grabbed him and taken him somewhere else. Also, usually, and this was another mistake that was made last night, if you've been to a Pacer game, then you know that as soon as that buzzer sounds, the security is very good about getting this yellow rope up to keep everyone that is sitting courtside off the floor. Like buzzer sounds, rope is up. That did not happen last night. Buzzer sounded, everyone celebrated, giving John Haliburton the opportunity to run out onto the floor, and then the yellow rope went up. That can't happen. So yes, John Haliburton, 1,000% in the wrong, shouldn't have done that, but Pacers security has to be better as well. And in all of this, I feel bad about Tyrese Haliburton, because I should be talking about how great he was to close the fourth quarter, how great he was in overtime. But for the first 10 minutes of my show, I've had to address John Haliburton. Jeez. Eventually, things died down a little bit, and then things got riled right back up. But before we talk about the Giannis and Benedict Mathurin confrontation and, James Johnson and Bobby Portis and all those other things, Tyrese Haliburton was obviously asked about his father last night and the altercation that his dad had with Giannis. Here's what Tyrese Haliburton had to say about his dad confronting Giannis after the game.
As far as the incident between Giannis and my pops, I had no idea it happened until I got to the back and was showed the video. Me and my pops have talked about that, and I don't agree with what transpired there from him. I think basketball is basketball, and let's keep it on the court. And I think that he just got excited, saw his son make a game winner, and came on the court. But I think we had a conversation, and I think he just needs to just allow me to just play basketball, stay over there. I'll come to him to celebrate. But I think it's the emotions of the game just got excited there. But I talked with him. I'll talk with Giannis eventually about it. Just I don't think that my pops was in the right at all there, and unfortunate what happened in the end there. But I mean, this series was a lot of war of words, a lot of war of antics, a lot of stuff going back and forth, and that's just part of this rivalry and what we've built here over the last couple of years. And it's unfortunate what happened there, but I think it's just competition. And as far as my pops, again, I don't agree what happened there. We'll have a conversation. Everybody's grown men, and we'll just go from there.
Tyrese Haliburton right there talking about his dad running his mouth at Giannis after the game. I'm sorry, I laugh. It's not funny, but it kind of is. To Tyrese Haliburton's credit, that is the perfect response if he follows through. He very politely said he didn't condone what his dad did. He was very nice about it, blamed it on the emotions of the game, which I can completely buy. That doesn't mean that his dad should have confronted Giannis like that, but I'm just saying, that is an understandable thing. These crazy events transpire, and it leads to reactions like that. That makes sense. Okay, I hope that Tyrese Haliburton actually has a conversation with his dad, because that can't happen. There are multiple NBA players whose reputations have taken a hit because of their fathers. Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo Ball became very unlikable because of LeVar Ball and the way that he behaved in the media. John Morant is unlikable because his dad, T. Morant, is he runs his mouth a lot. Tyrese Haliburton is a very likable player. I get it. There are Bucks fans who absolutely hate that guy because he's in back-to-back game winners against them in the playoffs these last 2 years and sent them back in 2 years in a row. But Tyrese Haliburton seems like a nice, laid-back guy. He is easy to root for, and that is a great thing. It's part of why Puma signed him to that huge shoe deal, and he's going to be the face of their basketball stuff. He can't allow his dad to get in the way of all that. With that being said, Tyrese Haliburton's response to the question was mature, and that is what everyone expects from him. And it's part of why the Pacers are in a great place. They have chosen the right guy to build their franchise around. Are there nights where he doesn't score the ball the way that I want him to? Absolutely. But there are nights like last night where he puts up 26 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks, and he hits a game winner. And after the game, he has the composure and the sense of mind to say the right thing to the media. And that is a very valuable thing to have as an NBA franchise. So, good job to Tyrese. John Haliburton, don't do it again. Okay, John did send out a tweet last night after the game apologizing and saying he won't do it again. We'll find out. So that whole thing happens. They split them up. Giannis walks away. And I'm immediately looking for Bobby Portis. Because that guy, if anyone was going to get into it with anybody, you would have thought it was going to be Bobby Portis, the guy who broke his teammate's jaw. I was like, ooh, wait, how long ago was that? 8 years ago now. So I'm looking for him because that guy, he's been talking trash all series. He's listening to Bobby Sucks chants for 2.5 hours on the night. And so I figured he would be the guy that caused the scene. And to his credit, he didn't really. I thought he and James Johnson talked for a long time there, but it wasn't anything too crazy. Nothing crazy really happened with Bobby Portis because it's James Johnson. Then Giannis and Benedict Mathurin get into it. And it makes so much sense that it would be Benedict Mathurin. I don't know if you remember this or not. Before Benedict Mathurin got traded, he was asked about playing against LeBron James. And he essentially said, LeBron James is going to have to show me that he's better than me because I don't think that anyone is better than me, which is really funny. And I think that says a lot about the kind of guy that Mathurin is. And Mathurin, also not afraid to talk. I don't know if you remember last year, he had the whole thing with Jaden Ivey at the Rising All-Star Weekend. And, like he will run his mouth very willingly. And so he and, Giannis are dapping it up, normal stuff to do at the end of a series. And they're leaning and whispering to each other. And all of a sudden, they got a hold of each other's jerseys. And everyone's running in, trying to split everybody up. James Johnson's just looking for somebody to hit. It's great. It's so great. And it is the absolute best thing for basketball. Ballgate. Tyrese Haliburton doing the Dame time celebration at the playing game last year. 2 years in a row of just these super intense playoff series between division rivals, because this is a legitimate rivalry. This is the absolute best thing for the NBA. Bucks versus Pacers, the rivalry, and I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Got a good hit there.
it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you had a nice night last night. Hopefully you got the opportunity to sit down and watch a fantastic Game 5 between the Bucks and the Pacers. Pacers going on an 8-0 run in the final 35 seconds to win the game by 1. Altercations after I was there. Had an absolute blast. And can't wait for round 2, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this Bucks-Pacers rivalry that has developed over the last 2 seasons, it's one of the best things for the NBA. It's one of the best things for basketball because, like, rivalries have never been a bad thing. And this Bucks and Pacers matchup has just had a lot of drama these last 2 years. And whether you like drama or not, drama sells. It does. I mean, last year you have Ballgate, right, where Giannis goes for 60, but Oscar Tshiebwe scores his first points in the NBA, and it's normal to give that guy the basketball. And so Giannis, so for those who don't know, the NBA has 3 basketballs at every game, and then they pick and choose which one they play with every game. Anyway, so the game's over. Giannis wants the ball because he just set a scoring record. Tshiebwe wants the ball because he scored his first points. And Giannis thought that the Pacers stole the real ball. And so he goes charging up the tunnel, trying to find the basketball, ready to go into the Pacers locker room if he has to. And, so you had that. You have Tyrese Haliburton hitting the Dame time celebration against the Bucks in front of Damian Lillard last year in the NBA's play-in tournament. Last year, they had a fantastic first-round series. I believe it went 6 games, if I remember correctly, and back and forth, a lot of good games, a lot of good trash talk, and it was good. And then, obviously, this year, you have the Tyrese Haliburton 4-point play game winner during the regular season. And now, you have this amazing first-round series. I get it. It only went 5 games, but it was amazing from the standpoint of drama. And the NBA loves its drama. We love the drama of free agency. We love the drama of trades. Talking about what happens in the NBA is most of the time, not all the time, more interesting than what happens in the actual games. And in this series, there were so many altercations between both sides. And neither team backed down because the Milwaukee Bucks are a team that they got a lot of dudes who have won a title. The Pacers are a team that are in the process of trying to reach that point, and they know that they have to go through the Bucks, and they feel like they're better than the Bucks because they beat them in a series last year. Meanwhile, the Bucks are like, well, we didn't have Giannis last year, so no, you're not better than us. And so there was this back and forth through the entire series, and neither team backed down. And then you have this outstanding Game 5. Best game of the maybe the best game of the playoffs. I don't know. It's this one or the Clippers, Nuggets, Aaron Gordon, game-winning dunk. I don't know. But you have this outstanding Game 5 where the Pacers go on an 8-0 run in the final 35 seconds to win the game, capped off by this outstanding Tyrese Haliburton isolation bucket on Giannis. And the Pacers win Game 5 because of it. And then you got John Haliburton and Giannis going at it, followed by Giannis and Benedict Mathurin going at it. When was the last time we had an NBA rivalry like this? I get it. These playoffs have been competitive. But when Lakers-Wolves, when that series ends, they're going to be cordial. They'll all shake hands. They'll all, say, hey, man, good game, and they'll all go back to being buddy-buddy. Knicks-Pistons has been incredibly physical. But when that series is over in 6 or 7 games, I don't think we're going to have any altercations like what we did last night. Part of that's because Isaiah Stewart's hurt and he hasn't been playing. Same goes for the rest of the playoff series. Like Clippers Nuggets has been great. When that series is over, though, like they're all going to dap up, and that was it. Boston, Orlando had a very cordial ending last night. Golden State, Houston, those teams do not like each other. Don't think we're going to have what we got last night, though, from Bucks and Pacers. And the NBA has been missing this for quite some time. When you look at the NBA and the history of it and what it has been built on, yes, it has been built on the backs of these superstars like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and Bill Walton. We can just keep it going, right? But you also have to have these rivalries. The NBA has also been built on rivalries. Simple as that. And we don't have rivalries right now. Celtics versus Lakers is a rivalry of history, but there's no beef between those two teams right now. The NBA, as a matter of fact, had a rivalry week this week during the season. You probably didn't know about it because the games that they put on TV aren't really rivalries. They put 10 games, prime time. They labeled it rivalry week. They did it in late January. By the way, terrible time to do it because that is peak football season. Here are the 10 games that they did, and you tell me if these are really rivalries or not. They did Knicks and Nets, and I get it. They're both in New York, but come on now. The Knicks do not care about the Nets, and the Nets we're trying to earn the number one overall pick this year, okay? Like, that's not a real rivalry. 76ers versus Nuggets. It's a great idea. The issue is Joel Embiid refuses to play games in Denver. Oh, and Joel Embiid also refuses to play basketball, period, right now. So you don't get that Nikola Jokic versus Joel Embiid rivalry that feels one-sided. Minnesota Timberwolves versus Dallas Mavericks. So rematch of the Western Conference Finals from last year. Not really a rivalry. Warriors versus Kings. There's some history there. The Kings don't like the Warriors. I think more than the Warriors don't like the Kings. Feels very one-sided. There's a little bit of history, but like not really. But those two teams are in completely different places, both historically and currently. The Kings couldn't get out of the freaking play-in game. Meanwhile, the Warriors are probably going to advance here pretty soon. Heat versus Bucks. Don't get that one. Why this was on in primetime during quote-unquote rivalry week, I don't get. Maybe it's because of the Dame trade that didn't happen. I don't really know. Celtics Lakers, once again, that is a historical rivalry, not a current one. Pelicans versus Grizzlies, they put that in primetime over Pacers Bucks after everything that happened last year. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe, matchup of Zion and John Morant, two guys that have underperformed pretty drastically in their careers so far. They also did Nuggets and Timberwolves, a rematch of an excellent playoff series last year. And you got to see Jokic and Rudy, which is kind of a rivalry, but not really. They did Celtics Mavs, a rematch of the NBA Finals, not really a rivalry. And then they capped it all off with a rivalry, but there's no intensity to it. It was Lakers versus Warriors. It's LeBron versus Steph who have had their battles. Two teams in California, two teams with high hopes on the year. But like most of those games were not rivalries. The NBA put their stamp on this and said, rivalry week, here are the 10 best rivalries that we have in the league. And they put them out there, and none of them have come close to what we've gotten from the Bucks and the Pacers these last 2 years. And once again, the NBA was built on rivalries, whether it was the rivalry of Magic and Bird, which obviously, fed even more into the Lakers versus Celtics thing, where it was Wilt versus, Bill Russell there for a while, and then you had the late 2000s, Paul Pierce and Kobe, those finals, and then you got into a little bit more, and then you got this whole LeBron thing, and yeah, it's just and part of that LeBron Steph thing is obviously what happened in Cleveland, but that's neither here nor there. So you have this Lakers-Celtics rivalry that has been a pretty big part of the NBA for a long time. Doesn't really feel like it is, though, right now. When you think about Michael Jordan, obviously the first thing that you think about is him winning 6 NBA titles in 6 tries. I think for a lot of people, I know for me, I don't know if it's for you or not. If you head over to YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. The second thing that I think of when I think about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan in the 90s, or all of their matchups against the bad boy Pistons and that rivalry and how much Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan still hate each other. You need that. Cavaliers Warriors during the Warriors dynasty a few years ago was a focal point of the NBA. They're putting those dudes on Christmas Day games and they're going at each other. You got the 3-1 comeback from LeBron. You've got Draymond Green, kicking guys and getting suspended, and as a big part of the NBA. Like the NBA needs rivalries, and they've got a great one right now in Bucks versus Pacers. And as a general NBA fan, I hope Giannis stays in Milwaukee. That way we can continue to get this. And I know that the NBA wants this to happen because the NBA can absolutely capitalize on this. This whole Bucks Pacers thing, it is leading every show right now. It's leading absolutely everything. Okay? And the rivalry only gets better after what happened last night. And everyone is going to be fully aware of it after what happened last night. And I'm sure that the NBA, Adam Silver has, I think done a lot of things wrong. But one thing I think he has done well is I think that the image of the league is relatively good. I'm sure that the NBA hates that a fan ran on the court and got into it with a player. But they're going to absolutely love the publicity that they're getting for their league. The NBA is leading every single show right now, which doesn't normally happen. And when it does, it's usually on a slow news day. This is like real, legitimate fire, and it is spreading quickly. And it's not between nobodies. Like, this whole thing happened with Giannis, one of the biggest stars in the world. I get it in the States, we're more about LeBron and Curry and all these guys, but globally, Giannis is a huge star because he's not from America. So one of the biggest stars in their league, Giannis, is leading discussions today. They got publicity for their rising star in Tyrese Haliburton, a guy who, was on the gold medal team. And by the way, Tyrese Haliburton has Netflix cameras following him around right now because he's a part of that Starting Five documentary with Netflix. Everything that happened last night will be one episode. And because it's Netflix, a lot of people are going to watch it. Because there's, I think I fall in this group of people that just really enjoy a good sports documentary. And the Starting Five documentary, 1,000% is that. And given everything that happened in this game, I'm telling you right now, that episode is going to do numbers. Even if you don't want to watch the whole series, you may be like, you know what? When do they talk about Game 5 when Tyrese Haliburton's dad ran out on the court and yelled at Giannis? Seriously. Like that is something that people are going to be intrigued by. It is. And it's going to continue to gain steam and be talked about. Wouldn't surprise me if people talked about it tomorrow, unless something crazy happens tonight in Warriors versus Rockets. The NBA needs rivalries like this, and they've got one. Hopefully, the NBA does the right thing, and they capitalize on this, and they build the brand of the Pacers a little bit more, and they talk a little bit more about Tyrese Haliburton, because that dude is one of the 15 best players in the world, and he deserves to be talked about a lot more than what he is. Watching that dude play in person is awesome. Watching, Giannis play basketball in person is one of the most insane things I have ever seen. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the environment of Bucks versus Pacers, Game 5, and I'm going to talk about what you cannot see on TV.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you had an excellent evening last night. If you watched the Pacers game and you didn't leave the game early, that happened to a lot of people last night, then you probably did have a great night. I know I was there. It was a blast. The environment of the Pacers game was good. Wasn't great. I saw that 6 o'clock start time, and I got a little fired up because I get off work at 3:15, 3:30, somewhere around there. I'm like, oh, I got 2.5 hours, go home, see my wife, go to the game, get back at 9 o'clock. Sounds wonderful. That sounds like a great Tuesday night. The issue with starting games at 6, I experienced last night. I showed up, and not a lot of people there. Like the NBA doesn't like starting games at 6 p.m. on weeknights for a reason. There were a lot of empty seats when that game tipped off, which makes sense because, you've got work and you get off at 5 and you probably got to go home and figure out what you're doing with your kids. And then you got to get to the game. And there's just a lot that goes into it. And so a lot of people weren't there early. I'm sure those people didn't mind missing the first quarter because of how pitiful the Pacers were in that first quarter. Once it finally filled up, though, Gainbridge was rolling, as it always does. It is an excellent environment to watch a basketball game. You cannot go wrong with watching a game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It is one of the best environments in the NBA. It lived up to that entirely in both the third and fourth quarters and overtime. I just hate that a bunch of people left when the Pacers were down 7 with 40 seconds left. They missed out on the most exhilarating 40 seconds of basketball we might see in these playoffs. The biggest thing I noticed, though, being at the game, was Giannis. This dude is built like a Greek god. When you watch him on TV, you can tell that he's just very, very jacked and ripped and chiseled, whatever adjective you would like to use. But seeing that dude in person is entirely different. And, not only the size and the athleticism and the speed, but the other thing that I noticed is when you watch him on TV, it looks like he commits 1 million offensive fouls in every game that he plays in. I no longer think that. Giannis beats every defender to every spot, and he's the one who actually gets fouled 3 or 4 times on every drive. Thankfully, the refs can't call it. But that dude is so strong and so agile. I think that's the other thing that really pops out is you see these crevices that he's able to squeeze his ginormous 7-foot body through. And as he's doing it, defenders bounce off of him. And it's just incredible to watch. He is worth the price of admission. Go watch that dude play if you have the opportunity. Because I promise it will not disappoint. 30, 20, and 10 last night. He is the 4th player in the history of the NBA to have a 30-point, 20-rebound, 10-assist game in the playoffs. Jokic has done it 3 times. Who are the other 2 who did it? Wilt Chamberlain did it once. I don't remember who the 4th guy is, but doesn't matter. Just an incredible performance from him last night. And if you have the opportunity to go see that dude play, you absolutely should. Just the size alone is mesmerizing. I have to be honest. I have to give John Haliburton a little bit of props. If I made a list of guys I would not want to talk trash to in that arena, number 1, James Johnson, obviously. No question about that one. Number 2, Giannis, just because of the size. And then number 3, probably Bobby Portis, because he broke a dude's jaw. Okay? But I want to talk about the actual game itself now. And what a game. Outside of that first quarter, Gary Trent Jr. went crazy again. I said that he wouldn't score 37 points again on, 9 of 12 shooting from three. He didn't. He came close. He had 33 points on 8 of 17 shooting from three. But I thought that when it comes to Giannis, though, because that's the guy that you have to stop. First half, I thought they did a really good job of making him settle for those 12 to 17-foot jump shots. I thought that during some big possessions, especially late in the game, I thought that they did a good job of getting him to settle for a couple more jumpers in some different spots. He obviously got to the rim a lot, and he was very dominant, but I did think that the Pacers did a good job of getting him to take jump shots late as opposed to attacking the basket. But the most baffling thing in this series happened again last night. Coming into the series, I expected for the Pacers to win because they would just be very dominant in the minutes that Giannis was not on the floor. And that hasn't been the case. The Bucks have lost the minutes Giannis has been on the floor in every game except for game 3. It happened again last night. The Pacers won the minutes that Giannis was on the floor, and they actually lost the minutes that he was off the floor. The Bucks were +1 with Giannis on the bench, and they were -2 with him on the floor. The reason why they survived those bench minutes was because of Gary Trent Jr., 33 points, 8 of 17 from 3. Late in the game, when it was close, the Bucks ran the same thing over and over. They would have Giannis bring the ball up the floor. They would put him at the top of the key, and they would have Gary Trent Jr. sent what is called a ghost screen, which is essentially you act like you're about to set a screen, and then you don't. You fake the screen, and then you fade out to the wing, and they would run that, and there was so much attention on Giannis that Haliburton would have to respect not letting him go around the screen, and he would hesitate, and then Gary Trent Jr. would flare out and take a three. And Miles Turner can't take him because you don't want Tyrese Haliburton defending Giannis. And because of how they were defending, Tyrese Haliburton had to navigate around Miles Turner, which is that's a big dude. That's a large body to navigate around. It gave Gary Trent Jr. all the time he needed to knock down some very big and very important threes for the Bucks late in that game. And he lit the Pacers up every time they ran that action. And every time the Bucks needed a bucket, they went to that Gary Trent Jr. set a ghost screen for Giannis. And they either got a layup for Giannis because, Miles Turner would have to move out of the way for Haliburton to get to Gary Trent Jr., or Giannis got an assist because he gave the ball to Gary Trent Jr. and he would lace a three. And the Pacers pretty simply had no answers for it. Thankfully, Gary Trent Jr. turned the ball over with 10 seconds left to set up that Tyrese Haliburton game winner. AJ Green hit a bunch of threes in this game as well. He was 6 of 10 from downtown. Bucks shot 19 of 40 from 3 overall, and they lost, which is really hard to do. And it's not like the Pacers matched them with their shooting ability. The Pacers only shot 12 of 33 from 3. Usually, when you outscore your opponent by 21, you win, unless you're the Bucks playing against the Indiana Pacers, who fought their tails off last night. This team just competes, and they have a real edge to them. Obviously, they were led by Tyrese Haliburton, and I've been hard on Haliburton and his lack of actually taking games over when he needs to. And I can't get on him for that because last night he did. Here are all of the Pacers scoring plays from the 7:48 mark of the fourth quarter when Tyrese Haliburton subbed back in to the finish of the game. It went Haliburton assist to Siakam. Siakam got a bucket. They isolated him a lot in that fourth quarter in the post. They tried to get him switched onto AJ Green or Gary Trent Jr., and they tried to let him go to work, which I love. And then it went Haliburton assist to Siakam, Haliburton assist to Nesmith, Miles Turner free throw, Tyrese Haliburton for 2 Tyrese Haliburton free throws, Haliburton for 2, Haliburton for 3, Nesmith for 3, Nesmith for 2, Nembhard for 3, Haliburton for 2, Haliburton free throw, Haliburton for 2, and what was ultimately the game winner. He took over. in the way that I've been asking him to. He didn't do it with threes. He took some ill-advised ones there to start overtime. But when the Pacers needed him to really go, he went to the bucket. And I get it. Like, he's a career 39% three-point shooter. The guy can shoot it, but he is at his best when he is going to the rim. Because he's 6'6" and he has long arms, and that kind of helps you finish over dudes. He was only 2 of 10 from 3 on the game, but he was still great. 26 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. And before I talk about his offense, because I know that's going to be the focal point, he was exceptional on the defensive end as well. 3 steals, 3 blocks. I thought one of the biggest swinging moments of the game came in the fourth quarter. Pacers are down by 3 with a little over 4 minutes left to go. And Bobby Portis is isolating. He's about to get a layup. Haliburton comes off Gary Trent Jr., and he gets a block. And then the Pacers are out running. And he gets an assist to Nembhard on a layup. Okay, he gets an assist on a Siakam layup. Giannis comes back down. Tyrese Haliburton doubles at the perfect time. Giannis doesn't see him coming. He strips him. Then he assists Andrew Nembhard on a layup. And the Pacers took the lead. And when that happened, I was like, there's my lead tomorrow. Because I thought that the Pacers were just going to kind of separate themselves from there. To the Bucks' credit, like, they're tough. They've won a title. Like, Gary Trent Jr. comes back and he gets hot. But I love that stretch of plays from Tyrese Haliburton so much because it speaks to the improvement that he has made on that end of the floor. And look, he wasn't the only player who played well, but he's the player we're all going to remember because of the game winner. Here's Mark Boyle calling the final 20 seconds or so of that game.
They'll go to the backcourt. Porter tracks it down, puts it on the floor, feeds it to the front court. They get it to Trent. Almost. He did lose it. He fumbled it out of bounds. You got to be kidding me. And now the Pacers can go ahead with 10 seconds to play. Here we go. Here comes Haliburton. Hits the timeline with 7. Outside the arc with 5. Driving in the lane at the goal. He lays it in with 1 and 3/10 seconds to go. Milwaukee has no timeouts. They have to go the length. Ball is going to be played in by Antetokounmpo. He gets it to Trent, and this one is over. Unbelievable. Sweet baby.
Mark Boyle, so great. Him on the call there, calling about the last 20 seconds of the game, including that Tyrese Haliburton game winner, which was such a tough game winner. He's going at Giannis. He got Giannis in a switch, and as soon as it happened, I was like, this is not the switch that the Pacers want. This is the switch that the Milwaukee Bucks want. And he took him off the bounce, which is so tough to do. And he goes by him, lays the ball in, and it was just a really impressive finish to the game. Here's Rick Carlisle talking about Tyrese Haliburton's game winner.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to belief in himself, Tyrese has an iron will. He works extremely hard on what he does. He works extremely hard on his craft, his skill. He's unafraid. He reminds me a lot of Reggie. And this game will go down as one of the all-time great Pacer wins because of the circumstances in overtime and what was on the line. And Ty obviously authored, a big part of this ending. So congratulations to him. The Netflix people are driving me nuts. They're everywhere, and it's a pain in the ass. But, when a guy like that can rise to the moment with a microphone on and cameras following him all over the place, it's pretty amazing.
Rick Carlisle right there talking about Tyrese Haliburton's game winner and just how impressive he is as a player. And Tyrese Haliburton wasn't the only guy who played well last night. The Pacers got a lot of big contributions from different players. And it was important because Pascal Siakam only scored 10 points, and I'm sure people are going to rag on him a little bit today because of that. But I was really impressed with the effort from Siakam. You know, when you defend Giannis for multiple games, you have to change the way that you guard him. And I think part of that is changing who you have defend him. And early in the series, or last game in game 4, there's a lot of Aaron Nesmith. Or, even earlier in the series, there was a lot of Miles Turner. Tonight, it was a lot of Pascal Siakam, right? Just trying to show Giannis a different face, a different kind of guy that, he kind of has to maneuver around. And so I get it. He only scored 10 points, but I thought he did a decent job trying to defend Giannis. He got some big fourth quarter buckets in isolation, which this Indiana Pacers team needs. It's very important to have a guy that can be like, hey, man, we're going to give you the ball 12 feet from the basket, go score. And having a guy who can do that is a very valuable thing to have. And it showed up late in that fourth quarter when they isolated him on the block. He had a couple big post-up fadeaways, a shot that he just seems to always make. So I get it. Siakam stat line, not overwhelmingly great, but he did a really excellent job of scoring late in that fourth quarter to keep the Pacers in it. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, we'll talk about the rest of the Indiana Pacer players who really had an impact on the game, including Indiana Pacer fans' favorite player. I think you know who that is. If you don't, I'll tell you who when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. You can also listen via the Indy Sports Ticket app, where you can download wherever you find your apps. You can listen to both me and the Dan Dockett Show from noon to 3 on that app. And if you want even more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Haliburton, awesome. Talked about him a lot over the last 30 minutes or so. So I do want to talk about some of these other guys. TJ McConnell in the third and fourth quarter was nothing short of spectacular. Also, people cheer louder for that dude than anyone else. Whenever he checked into games, he got a standing ovation when he checked out after that awesome run in the third, at the end of the third and start of the fourth quarter, where he scored 12 points in like 6 minutes. Very impressive stuff from him. And I think that the cheers for him just prove that everyone everywhere loves short white dudes that get buckets. No way around it. He finished with 18 points. He got a lot of buckets last night. 6 points to close the third quarter, 6 points to open the fourth. He was amazing, played a very large role in that comeback. Here is Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle talking about the impact that TJ McConnell had on that game.
Yeah, I know he got a standing ovation when he came out in the fourth. Very easily could have, perhaps should have stayed with him another minute, but we had a side out situation with low clock, so decided to go back basically with the starters at that point. But TJ did his job. He did his job tonight. He was everywhere. He was putting pressure on the rim. He was putting pressure on their team, and he was leading the way he leads. And so, our fans got a lot of love for him. I got tons of respect for him. And tonight was similar to last year's deciding game, Game 6. He had 21 or something like that in that game, and we needed a big lift off the bench, and he gave it to us.
Coach Carlisle right there talking about TJ McConnell and just the impact that he had on that game. And he wasn't the only one who had a positive impact. All 5 Indiana Pacers starters finished the game in double figures. I thought Aaron Nesmith was awesome. He just did Aaron Nesmith things. He was like 3 of 6 from 3. He finished at the rim. He blocked a couple shots. He rebounded the basketball at an elite level, finished the game with 19 points and 12 boards. Okay, he just attacked the glass ferociously. I don't know if you saw Warriors and Rockets Game 4, but the Rockets basically had a chance to win the game late, and they missed the shot. And you see Jimmy Butler, his head is like almost at the rim for this final rebound, and he comes down with it. And every rebound attempt from Aaron Nesmith was that way. I mean, he was just full tilt, because a lot of guys, when they rebound, box out, and it's like a 70% jump because there's other people around, and you don't want to fall on someone or get undercut or sprain your ankle when you come down. Not Aaron Nesmith last night. Dude was just like 2 hands up on the glass. I'm just going to jump over everybody and grab this basketball. He was great, not only in this game, but also in this series. He's a very important piece for this Indiana Pacer team. Here is Coach Carlisle talking about Aaron Nesmith's impact, and he throws out an interesting comparison for Aaron Nesmith as well.
Well, there's a period in the fourth quarter where we were getting shots, but we were unable to convert. Called a timeout. We put him in a stack action, and he delivered a 3, boom, just like that. And that was a huge play. Then he had a tip in late, and he's involved in a lot of loose ball plays. He was involved in the play in Game 4, which was a defining play as well. A chase down block on Portis turns into an and one at the other end, and it really was a big part of the run we made in the second half. So, look, he's a warrior type player, and interestingly, the former Ron Artest was here tonight, so got to see him. Obviously, he got introduced during the game. He came in afterwards, said hi to the guys. I mean, Meta, now as he's known, was one of the toughest guys I ever saw in this league ever. And so Aaron displays a lot of those attributes as well.
Coach Carlisle right there talking about Aaron Nesmith and his impact on the game last night and on the team, and throwing a little Meta World Peace comp. He's a little calmer than that dude. But Miles Turner, I thought he was really good last night as well. 21 points. He took 10 free throws, 8 of 10 from the foul line. Also had 9 rebounds. I think 4 of them were offensive. Jarius Walker, his stat line, not great. But he did a good job spelling Pascal Siakam and defending Giannis, because Siakam dealt with some foul trouble, as one does when you have to defend Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, great game last night from the Pacers. They are now set to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That series is set to start on Sunday. And so I've watched Cleveland all year because they are just a fun basketball team to watch. This series is going to be basketball excellence of the highest order on the offensive end, with the way that both of these teams can score the basketball and the way that they move the basketball. So obviously the leader for Cleveland is Donovan Mitchell. Dude's a stud. He's somewhere around the 10th best player in the world. If you want to say he was the 8th best player in the association, I would accept that. Probably wouldn't go any higher than that, though. But it's not just him. The Cleveland Cavaliers have done an excellent job of drafting and developing. They draft Darius Garland 5th overall, and he has emerged into an excellent point guard. They draft Evan Mobley 3rd overall, and he has developed not only as a defender, winning Defensive Player of the Year this year, but also as an offensive player, bringing the ball up the floor, rebounding the ball, going coast to coast, and making, excellent passes as well. They bring in Jared Allen, who's just this really tough dude who rebounds the ball, blocks shots, and dunks on people's heads. It's great. All of them are awesome in their own ways. Darius Garland didn't play in the last 2 games against the Miami Heat with that injury to his toe. He'll be back, though, for this Pacers series. I'd be very surprised if we didn't see Darius Garland, if we didn't hear from Darius Garland at some point. Because obviously, the Cleveland has had, they're going to have a decent amount of time off. So are the Pacers. Once again, they're going to have, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Pacers have 4 days off to get ready for this series. The Cavaliers have 5 days off. Okay, hallelujah. There is no rest versus rust discussion coming our way with this series, because I don't overrated discussion. Anyway, the Pacers will not be favored in this series. They should not be. Right? They're going to have their work cut out for them in a big way, because the Cleveland Cavaliers have been nothing short of amazing this season. They have been the best team in the Eastern Conference really all year. They've had the best offense in the NBA this season with an offensive rating of 121. So that is 121 points scored per 100 possessions. That is what they're averaging. The offense for the Cavaliers is just littered with dudes who can shoot the basketball. They are very similar to the Pacers in that regard. Like, the Pacers will occasionally, they don't run lineups where 2 guys can't shoot. When you watch the Pacers play, they have 4 guys on the floor who can make a 3 at pretty much all times. Okay? And the Cleveland Cavaliers are the exact same way. They got 4 dudes on the floor who can knock down an open 3 and Jared Allen. The Pacers, when they open the game, it's 5 guys on the floor who can make an open 3. And then McConnell comes in, and it's 4 guys on the floor who can make a 3 and TJ McConnell. Okay? So the Cavaliers, like the Pacers, are a team that is more than willing to move the ball around. They have multiple players who can create a shot on their own. I think they're probably better than the Pacers at that. Donovan Mitchell's a dude who's just, I'm very intrigued to see what they do with that man, because that dude scores at will, and he makes it look very easy. Darius Garland, a little undersized. I think they'll put Andrew Nembhard on him. Donovan Mitchell will probably be defended by Aaron Nesmith. Ty Jerome is a guy who's going to come in off their bench. He is there. TJ McConnell, except he can make 3s. It's a lot of floaters. It's a lot of him running, screen and roll, and getting into the lane. Also a very good passer as well. So like that guy off the bench is a problem. DeAndre Hunter, He comes in off the bench. He's excellent. He can go as well. He can go get you one when he needs to as well. So, and the preference for them in terms of who goes isolation stuff is in that order. But they don't want to run isolation stuff. They don't. Like the Cavaliers want to move the basketball, very similar to the Indiana Pacers. Like they could isolate Haliburton more, and they could isolate Pascal Siakam a little bit more, and they could isolate TJ McConnell a little bit more. But they don't want to do that. Like they want to play as a unit on the offensive end, and the Cleveland Cavaliers do the exact same thing. Okay, so this series, like I said, offensively is going to be a lot of fun to watch. If the Pacers, are to win this series, it's going to be with defense. I think that's the question for both of these teams. The Cavaliers are an excellent defensive team, but so are the Pacers. The Cavaliers have been the 8th best defensive team in the NBA this year with a defensive rating of 112. Since December 14th, after that 10-15 start from the Indiana Pacers, including the playoffs, they've been the 6th best defensive team in the NBA. So, like, these are two teams that, yes, the offenses are high powered, but they can get stops. And for Cleveland, a lot of that has to do with Evan Mobley, the guy who won Defensive Player of the Year this year. That dude's awesome. He protects the rim at an elite level. He can guard anyone. And that is something that is said about way too many players. This is a legitimate thing for Evan Mobley. He can guard anybody. He is a freak. He's 7'1". He is incredibly long. He is very athletic. He moves his feet very well. Dan, whenever he does his show from noon to 3, he talks about big guys, and he says I'll never forget him saying this, and it's something I'm going to steal from him. He said there are some big guys who play in the NBA or play Division I basketball because they're big, but there are some guys, that are 6'10" or 6'11". If they were like 6'2" and played guard, they could still play in the NBA or high level college basketball, whatever. Evan Mobley is that way. If Evan Mobley was 6'3", he could still play high-level basketball because he is incredibly smart and he's very athletic. Okay, he's going to spell problems for the Pacers. Very intrigued to see what the Cavaliers do with him because the Pacers are significantly smaller than Cleveland because Cleveland plays 2 7-footers. Evan Mobley is versatile enough on both ends of the floor that he allows them to do that. So I'm assuming that the Cavs will put him on Siakam just to kind of have him involved in all of the screen and roll defense, and they'll put Jared Allen on Miles Turner. But then again, like you don't want Jared Allen pulled away from the bucket. So I'm very intrigued to see what Cleveland does with him and how the Pacers deal with him on the offensive end, because that is a dude who can just ruin offensive possessions for you. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Either way, the point is I'm very intrigued to see how these two teams defend one another. What the Cavaliers do with Jared Allen is going to be interesting because they want him by the basket to protect the rim. But Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam don't really play by the basket. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Cavaliers deal with the Pacers and the way that they can really space the floor. Either way, the Cavaliers are not all offense. That is their calling card, no doubt. But they can get in a stance and guard. They do have some weaknesses on that end. Darius Garland is small. He will be the smallest guy on the floor. Going to be intriguing to see how the Pacers try to take advantage of him defensively because he's just undersized and not a very good defender. Outside of that, though, there's not a lot of weak points for this Cavalier team. This series is going to be awesome because these are two of the best teams in the NBA, and I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Justin Weiser chiming in over on the YouTube. You can head over there and subscribe. Indy Sports Ticket if you would like to be part of the conversation. John Buzzer chiming in on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to tweet at me, saying, yep, TJ is the definition of the Caucasian comet. Won't disagree with that. But Justin Weiser said a Pacers-Pistons playoff series would be epic. It would be, because those two teams are incredibly talented. Those two teams are very just tough and, like, they don't really back down from anyone, and they're these kind of tough, young teams that really go at it. I mean, this division, the Central Division in the Eastern Conference, has been the best division in basketball this year. Cleveland's outstanding. The Pacers, obviously, like, they're playing in the second round. The Pistons are giving the Knicks all they can handle. If they close out that game one, there's a real world where the Pistons are 3-0 in Madison Square Garden, which is really tough to do. They won their game last night. The Bucks, obviously, as well, made the playoffs as a 5 seed. Like that has been probably the second best division in all of basketball. You could argue the Pacific Division in the Western Conference. That's the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Warriors. You could argue them, but we'll wait and see kind of how all of that shakes out. So Pacers, Cavaliers, that series is set to start on Sunday. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll talk about it obviously a little bit more tomorrow and Friday as well. Hopefully we can get Tony East on at some point. I'm going to reach out to some people in Cleveland, see if I can get anyone on Friday for that. We'll wait and see, though. Cannot wait for that series. It's going to be spectacular. Hopefully John Haliburton doesn't run on the court at all to say anything to anybody. I was there. I was at the game, saw it all unfold. I will give you my thoughts on John Haliburton and his old confrontation with Giannis when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you had a blast watching the Indiana Pacers play basketball last night. I did. I was there. It's fun. Pacer games are always fun. So the buzzer sounded, and things only got better, which is really hard to say after an 8-0 run in the final 35 seconds to win a playoff game and to send the other team packing. So let's start with the altercation that is making the rounds the most. People talked about it on First Take today, led the shows that I like to watch in the morning. Giannis and John Haliburton, Tyrese Haliburton's father, got into it a little bit. Several videos are making the rounds. I'll tell you what happened. I saw the entire thing. So Haliburton goes to the rim, finishes that layup to give the Pacers the lead with 1.3 seconds left. The Bucks inbound the ball. Gary Trent Jr., 80-foot full court heave, misses it. Crowd erupts. Everyone's going crazy. I know these teams pretty well. I'm looking at the court because some altercation is going to happen. And that's when I see John Haliburton sprint onto the court to celebrate. He wasn't looking for Giannis. I think he was just excited that his kid hit a game winner to send the Milwaukee Bucks home. And so I think he's just excited and he's celebrating and all that kind of stuff. And turns around. And all the while, he's got this towel with his son's face on it. And he turns around and he sees Giannis, who I just kind of felt bad for. He's just standing there in the middle of the floor. He's got his hands on his hips. And you just know that he's just devastated after that comeback. And John Haliburton turns around and he sees him and he pulls out the towel and he's showing it to him and he's waving it at him and he's talking to him. And here's what Giannis had to say about the altercation with Tyrese Haliburton's father, John Haliburton.
Nothing. And this is the last time I'm going to say. I won't talk a lot. We lost the game. It doesn't really matter. One thing I'll say is that I believe being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you got tag and it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't. Okay? And that doesn't even say anything. I'm not trying to minimize their effort. Losing the game, emotions run high. Having a fan, which at the moment I thought he was a fan, but then I realized he was Tyrese's son, which I love. Tyrese, I think, is a great competitor. He was his dad, sorry. Coming in the floor and showing me his son a towel with his face. This is what we do. This is what we effing do. This the F we do. This. I feel like that's very, very disrespectful. I'm happy for him and I'm happy for his son and I'm happy that he's happy for his son. That's how you're supposed to feel. But coming to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Okay? And I'm not the guy that points fingers because in my neighborhood, snitches get stitches. So I don't want to say something, for him to say to get fined or anything. But it's not respectful. I talked with him at the end, and I think we're in a good place.
They're in a good place, according to Giannis, talking about John Haliburton right there and the after the game altercation. And first and foremost, praise the Lord for security, because if there wasn't security, Giannis might have squashed that dude. Just telling you. So he's waving the towel. Security comes over relatively quick. Grab John, take him back to his seat. That was a mistake. They should have taken him out. They should have walked him off the court into the tunnel, wherever he's supposed to wait for Tyrese. That is where he should have been. They should not have allowed him to stay on the court because I get it. He's John Haliburton. He is the face of your franchise's dad. So he's going to get a little bit of special treatment. And for me, that special treatment should stop with we're going to put you courtside right underneath the basket every single game. As soon as you go somewhere that you shouldn't be and you say stuff that you shouldn't say, gone. You have to take him off the court there. And they didn't, which allowed for things to escalate a little bit. And before I get into the escalation, let me say, every story I've heard about John Haliburton has been good. He seems like he has a ton of energy and in a very positive direction. He seems like a nice dude. You know, he walks by during Pacer games all the time and he says, you know, nice things and he gets the crowd riled up. And like, he seems like a good dad, very present. You can't do that, though. At the end of the day, you are a fan and you can't be on the court. And as soon as he crossed that line, they should have walked him off the floor. Also, security, if you've been to a Pacer game, then you know how this works. Buzzer sound, security grabs this yellow rope and they put it up to keep courtside people from going out onto the floor. And last night, it took them too long. Buzzer sounded, they celebrated with everyone else, and I get it. It's a very fun and exciting game, but like you still have to do your job. If they do their job, none of this happens. None of it happens. And honestly, I feel bad for Tyrese because I should be talking about his play to close the fourth quarter and overtime. But instead, I have to talk about this. After Giannis was separated from John Haliburton, he then went back over to John very calmly. So, like, when they pulled them away, obviously guys are upset and they're yelling at each other and stuff. But, like, they pull Giannis away. He calmed down. When you look at the videos, they completely missed that part. It's just them kind of being forehead to forehead, talking to each other. So Giannis walks back over. Security's trying to keep him away, but, like, you're not keeping Giannis away from wherever he wants to go. So eventually he makes his way back over. They're forehead to forehead. If you just see that part and you don't see Giannis calm down, like, it looks a lot more hostile than what I think it was. So eventually Giannis allows them to pull him away. He gives a thumbs up, makes like a face of like, okay, I think we're cool. You heard him say at the end of that clip that he feels like he and John are in a good place. Once again, none of this should have happened. Thankfully, Giannis is a good dude. If he had said that to a lot of other superstars in the league, it probably wouldn't have been that cordial. And the clip that I played of Giannis talking about the situation wouldn't have been as nice as it was. Okay, Tyrese Haliburton was asked about his dad after the game. And if you were impressed with Giannis's remarks, I think you'll be a little more impressed with what Tyrese Haliburton had to say about his father.
You know, as far as the incident between Giannis and my pops, I had no idea it happened until I got to the back and was showed the video. Me and my pops have talked about that, and I don't agree with, you know, what transpired there from him. You know, I think basketball is basketball, and let's keep it on the court. And I think that he just, you know, got excited, saw his son make a game winner, and came on the court. But I think we had a conversation, and, you know, I think he just needs to just allow me to just play basketball, stay over there. I'll come to him to celebrate. But I think it's the emotions of the game just got excited there. But I talked with him. I'll talk with Giannis eventually about it. Just, you know, I don't think that my pops was in the right at all there, and unfortunate, you know, what happened in the end there. But I mean, this series was a lot of war of words, a lot of war of antics, a lot of stuff going back and forth, and that's just part of, you know, this rivalry and what we've built here over the last couple of years. And you know, it's unfortunate what happened there, but I think it's just competition. And as far as my pops, again, I don't agree with what happened there. We'll have a conversation. You know, everybody's grown men, and you know, we'll just go from there.
Tyrese Haliburton right there addressing his dad and everything that transpired after the game. That's a perfect response. That is exactly what you should say. If he follows through, then it'll be the perfect response. He didn't condone what his dad did. He didn't stand up for him in any way, shape, or form. He was very nice about it, blamed it on the emotions of the game, which I can completely buy. That doesn't mean that John Haliburton should have done what he did, but emotions do run high after you win, after you lose, especially in that fashion. And I hope that Tyrese Haliburton actually has a conversation with his dad, because obviously that can't happen. But for Tyrese himself, he needs to have this conversation. Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo Ball became very unlikable because of their dad early on in their careers in the NBA. John Morant's dad, T. Morant, has been in the media, and the approval rating of John Morant dropped because of his dad, and then he did other things, and it dropped even more. Tyrese Haliburton's a very likable guy. Seems laid back, seems nice. He can't let his dad get in the way of his image. He can't. Because not only are the Pacers paying him a boatload of money, but so is Puma. He's the face of their basketball product right now. And you can't have things ruin your reputation. And if John Haliburton continues to do stuff like this, then that's not going to be good. You heard, Tyrese in that clip say that, he's had to have this conversation before, and that's not okay. It's to a point where they may need to pull him away from sitting that close to the court. If he's going to respond in that manner, then you can't have that. So I'll be very intrigued to kind of see what they end up doing with John going forward. I'm sure that members of the Indiana Pacers organization as well had something to say about, everything else, that went on. And I'm sure that, different people within the Pacers also talked to John, and it wasn't just Tyrese, but something clearly needs to be done to keep him from doing stuff like that. Again, not just for the Pacers' sake, but also for Tyrese Haliburton's sake. With that being said, I thought Tyrese Haliburton's response to the question was very mature, and that's what everyone expects from him. And so that altercation happens from there. I'm looking for Bobby Portis, because that guy, I thought he was going to cause a scene because he's, tough dude. He didn't. He and James Johnson talked for a bit, but it was quick. Nothing crazy happened with Bobby. Then Giannis and Mathurin get into it, and then everyone runs in. Okay, they end up pulling Bobby Portis out. They have 2 security people escort him into the locker room. There's just a million people at center court, and no one's throwing punches or anything. Everyone's just holding each other back, because that's how fights in the NBA go. And Mathurin is being talked to by Giannis, and Mathurin says something to Giannis, which is not surprising, because Benedict Mathurin likes to talk. He's got that quote before he got drafted where they asked him about playing against LeBron James, and he was basically like, LeBron James isn't better than me. He's going to have to show me that he's better than me. I don't think anyone's better than me. That dude is a dog. He's tough. He's competitive, and he likes to talk. I don't know if you remember this, but last year at the Rising Stars game, one of the most relaxed events in sports, Benedict Mathurin gets into it with Jay Nivey at the Rising Stars game. So this dude likes to talk, and I'm sure he said something to Giannis. I'm sure Giannis said something back that got him riled up, and all of a sudden they're both holding each other's jerseys, and they're pushing and doing all that good stuff. And it's not surprising that Giannis got riled up. Just lost a really tough game. He'd had that incident with John Haliburton, 1 minute prior. And so probably wasn't hard to get Giannis all riled up and ready to go. But what a game. Great drama afterwards. It's the best thing for the NBA. I'm sure they don't appreciate a fan running out onto the court, but it's the best thing for the NBA. I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
fits in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith, if you want to follow me there. You can also listen via the Indy Sports Ticket app. And if you want even more from me, go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. This Bucks and Pacers rivalry that has developed over the last 2 seasons is the best thing for the NBA. So many things have happened. So let's go back to last year. Let's start from the beginning. You have Tyrese Haliburton playing against the Bucks in Las Vegas, semifinals of the NBA Play-In Cup national TV. Tyrese Haliburton hits a big 3, turns around and does the Dame time celebration right in front of Dame, which is awesome. Love it. Okay? Like that's a great celebration, right? It's a great way to talk trash. Then, a few weeks later, Bucks play the Pacers in Milwaukee. Giannis goes crazy, scores 60, and he wants to grab the ball after the game because that's like that's a Bucks like franchise scoring record. And during that game, Oscar Tshiebwe, a rookie for the Pacers, he makes a free throw, his first NBA points. I guess it's very common to give a guy who scores his first NBA points the basketball, but Giannis wants the basketball because he just scored 60. So he can't find it. They give him a ball. He doesn't think that it's the actual game ball, so he runs up the tunnel, goes after the Pacers to try and get the ball back. Crazy, right? So that happens. That becomes the whole thing. Then they had a fantastic first-round series last year. Pacer fans feel pretty good because they beat the Bucks and they won a couple games on the road, and it was great. And Buck fans were like, no, we didn't have Giannis, so it doesn't really count, even though it does count. And yeah, Lillard got hurt in that series as well. And so that series goes 6 games. Pacers win it, they advance, and I'm sure Bucks are like, we're going to play them next year, and we're going to wipe the floor with them because we're actually going to be healthy. And then they weren't healthy this year. And then during the regular season, you have this incredible game in Indiana, national TV. Bucks up by 3. Tyrese Haliburton hits a fadeaway 3 from the corner, gets fouled. 4-point play, makes the free throw. Pacers win. Crazy game. Just insane. And then you have this series where there's altercations in every single game, and a game winner from Tyrese Haliburton last night, and John Haliburton running out on the floor, and Mathurin and Giannis going at it at center court, and it's awesome. So many altercations, neither team back down, and then you have this outstanding Game 5 where the Pacers go on this 8-0 run in the final 35 seconds, and it closes with multiple altercations. When was the last time the NBA had a rivalry like this? Been a while. Couldn't really tell you. If you said probably not since the Bad Boy Pistons and the Bulls, I would be inclined to believe you. I can't think of a better one since then. If you can, YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, hop in the chat and let me know. The Celtics and Lakers rivalry, it's the biggest one in the sport, but that is a historical rivalry. There's no beef right now. The NBA had a rivalries week this year. Here were the matchups. They put all 10 of these games in prime time, and they labeled it rivalry week. Like, hey, these are the matchups that we are stamping as rivalries. Knicks, Nets, I get it. They're both in New York, but come on. That's not a rivalry. 76ers, Nuggets. Joel Embiid's not playing basketball right now, so you don't get that Jokic and Embiid rivalry. That feels one-sided, to be quite frank. I don't think Jokic really cares for Embiid. Timberwolves, Mavericks. Not really a rivalry. It was just a rematch of the Western Conference Finals. That's not a rivalry. That's a rematch of a great series from the year prior. Warriors, Kings. There's some history there. There's a little bit of animosity, back and forth between those two teams, but feels a little one-sided. It's a lot of little brother, big brother kind of stuff there. Heat, Bucks. Don't get that one in the slightest. Maybe because of the Dame trade, but I don't I don't really get it. Celtics-Lakers, once again, that is a historical rivalry, not a current one. Pelicans-Grizzlies, that's just a matchup of Zion and Ja, two players that have drastically underperformed in their career so far. Nuggets-Timberwolves, that's a rematch of what was an excellent playoff series last year, and you get to see Nikola Jokic play against Rudy Gobert. And then you get, they had Celtics-Mavs, a rematch of the NBA Finals, not really a rivalry. And then you got Lakers-Warriors, which is legitimate because there's a LeBron-Steph rivalry, I guess. Like, they both really like each other, so it doesn't really feel like a rivalry, but they've had a lot of great battles going back to when LeBron was playing for the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, and both of those teams were obviously in California, and both of those teams had pretty high hopes coming into the season. None of those feel like rivalries, though, and none of them feel like what we've gotten from Bucks Pacers, not just in the playoffs, but throughout the entire season, going back to last year. And this is something that the NBA has been missing. They need rivalries. The NBA is very much built on stars. The history of it revolves around having superstars, right? And, they had Larry and Bird in the 80s. They have been credited with saving the NBA. They have a rivalry going back to when they were in college playing against each other in the national title game. Okay? And then, it's Lakers, Celtics, building on this rivalry that Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell had created. And, so like you go through this phase of that, and it kind of brings the attention back to the NBA. When you think about Michael Jordan, who takes over the league next after those two guys, when people talk about Michael Jordan, the first thing that they bring up is the fact that he won 6 NBA Finals and was the Finals MVP in all 6. It is the first thing out of everyone's mouth when it comes to that dude. The second thing that comes out of his mouth the second thing that I think comes out of a lot of people's mouths, I know mine, is the matchup with the Bad Boy Pistons. There's a rivalry. They didn't like each other. And it's one of the best stories in the NBA. Those guys still don't like each other. I think it's great. But the NBA built off of that. They built off of that rivalry. Cavaliers versus Warriors. During the Warriors dynasty, that was a focal point of the NBA because it felt like a rivalry. LeBron likes Steph Curry now. He didn't back then, though, and he kept beating him. And I hope Giannis stays with the Bucks through the offseason because this becomes something that the NBA can really capitalize on. It is an amazing rivalry that just continues to build on itself after these last 2 years between Ballgate and the Dame Time celebration and this playoff series and now altercations after all of these games. Like, this is a fantastic rivalry. And the NBA needs more of them. And this is their best rivalry. All of these playoff series have been nothing short of physical and fun to watch. And there have been little dust-ups in every single series. Okay, just about. Okay, Thunder Grizzlies was pretty cordial. Nuggets Clippers, nothing's happened yet, but there's been a lot of drama. Lakers Timberwolves, there have been some dust-ups. Rockets Warriors, there have been several dust-ups. Cavaliers Heat, that was pretty cordial. Knicks Pistons, plenty of dust-ups. Jalen Duren standing over, Jalen Brunson last night saying, "Get up, you flopping mother," Celtics Magic, there were some dust-ups there. People were calling the Magic dirty because they're just a physical basketball team. I would guarantee you, we don't have altercations after games or after a series is over the same way that we did last night with Pacers and Bucks. It is the best rivalry. Those teams cannot stand each other. Maybe we'll get it in Rockets Warriors because Draymond Green's Draymond Green, even though I do think that after a series is over, Draymond Green calms down quite a bit. I think he just allows the emotions of the game to get a hold of him a little bit too much like John Haliburton last night. And so this Bucks and Pacers rivalry, it's the best one. And I'm sure that the NBA doesn't like that a fan ran on the court, but they're going to love the fact that everyone is now fully aware of this rivalry now because it's leading literally every sports show today. I'm sure that they're going to love the publicity that they're getting for their league. Like, the playoffs have been amazing. Every game has been so good. So you've got that paired with this great rivalry, paired with this rivalry happening with one of their biggest stars, Giannis. They have to love that people are talking about Giannis today. And there's also publicity for this rising star in Tyrese Haliburton, who's been in the news a lot lately between the game winner, his dad, which is not a good reason to be in the news, and being voted the most overrated player in the league by his peers. By the way, Tyrese Haliburton, not going anywhere. He's starring in that Netflix documentary called Starting Five, where they follow dudes around with a camera, and they interview him after games, and everything that transpired last night. That's an episode. That is going to be one episode. They will. Like, there's so much that happened in that game, and I can't wait to see him answer questions. I'm sure that they're going to interview his dad and ask him what happened as well. I can't wait for that Starting Five Netflix documentary to come out. It's going to do numbers simply because of what happened in that game last night. Not even just the 8-0 run, but everything that happened after. It was incredible. I was there. If you have the money to go see Giannis play basketball, you should absolutely do it. You should absolutely do it. He is worth the price of admission. If someone had to make a sculpture of Zeus, I think they would just try and do one of Giannis. Like, that's how that big and chiseled that dude is. Okay? It is incredible. Just the size and the strength and the agility that he possesses. I mean, it's insane. The game was awesome. Tyrese Haliburton was amazing down the stretch. He finally took over. Like, the thing that I've been begging him to do and have known that he is more than capable of doing, he did. And he didn't do it by taking a bunch of threes. He was 2 of 10 from 3 on the night. He took a few too many to start overtime. But down the stretch, he was awesome. He scored or assisted on the majority of the Indiana Pacers points, and he finished the night with 26 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds. But that wasn't the most impressive thing. A lot of people will discuss his offense. I want to take 30 seconds to talk about his defense. He had 3 steals and 3 blocks last night. One of the biggest swinging moments of the game came in the fourth quarter. Pacers are down by 3, a little over 4 minutes left. Haliburton blocks Bobby Portis, grabs the ball, leads the break, finds Pascal Siakam, assists on a layup. The Bucks come back down the floor. Giannis goes to the rim. Tyrese Haliburton, perfect doubles him from the blind side. As soon as Giannis turned his back, he doesn't know that he's coming. It's too loud. You can't yell wolf. If someone does yell wolf, you can't hear it. Haliburton comes from behind, strips him, steals it. Pacers are running back the other way. Nembhard, layup, boom. Pacers are up by 1. And I thought that the Pacers were going to kind of run away with it from there. That didn't happen because Gary Trent Jr. went crazy. But I love that stretch from him so much because I just like seeing players get better. And the Celtics picked on Tyrese Haliburton defensively last year, repeatedly. And they put him in every action, and they made that dude guard. And I love that throughout the course of the season and throughout the offseason, he has found ways to not be a negative on the defensive end of the floor. And I felt like that stretch really showed the work that he put in. And that's so important to have a superstar who works that way and wants to improve and wants to get better. And so I love that stretch from Tyrese Haliburton because it shows that this is a guy who works on his game and understands what he needs to get better at. So great game last night. Tyrese Haliburton was awesome. John Haliburton, stay off the court. Aside of that, we love you. And I can't wait for them to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back again tomorrow from 10 to noon. If you want more from me, go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Subscribe. It's excellent. While you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Indy Sports Ticket YouTube page as well. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way here in 5 minutes.